those around can warm up in its glowing. That's how it is with God's love. Oh, once you've experienced it, you spread His love to everyone you want to pass it on. I wish for you, my friend, this happiness that I have found. You can depend on Him. It matters not where you're bound. I'll shout it from the mountain top. I want the world to know the Lord of love has come to me. I want to pass it on. And at this time, we will have our Adventist Youth Pledge. Let's go together. Loving the Lord Jesus, I promise to take an active part in the youth ministries of the church, doing what I can to help others and to finish the work of the gospel in all the world. And then we'll go with our Adventist aim. Let's go together. The Advent message to all the world in my generation. And then we'll recite our motto. Let's go. For the love of Christ compels me. And at this time, we will do our AY song. Let's all sing together. After 2, 1, 2. Adventist youths are we from every land and sea. Together we pray and work and play in happy harmony. We have a faith to share with others everywhere. A message of love from God above to show the world we care. Adventist youths, Adventist youths, Adventist youths. Thank you for your participation. And at this time, I will read to you a small excerpt from our Adventist Review. And this will serve as our devotional today. The caption being, There is no health without mental health. And this was written on the 3rd of January 2017. And it starts by asking a question. Can the local church play a role in our mental health? So let's go. Seventh-day Adventists. Seventh-day Adventists have a theological commitment to mental health. Fundamental belief 7 explicitly indicates that human beings are made in the image of God as an indivisible unity of bond, body, mind, and spirit. Consequently, we believe in a ministry of healing by which we can be restored to wholeness. Our concept of whole involves the whole person, so that entails spiritual, physical, mental, and social. As we do not exist in isolation, Ellen White wrote that the relation that exists between the mind and the body is very intimate. When one is affected, the other sympathizes. The condition of the mind affects the health to a far greater degree than many realize. Many of the diseases from which men suffer are the result of mental depression, grief, anxiety, discontent, remorse, distrust, and all of these tend to break down the life forces and to invite decay and eventually death. In the treatment of the sick, the effect of mental influence should not be overlooked. Rightly used, this influence affords one of the most effective agencies for combating disease. The role of the local church. Often, the local church is the de facto, mental health system in many communities. Pastors are often the first ones to come in contact with individuals and families suffering with emotional health conditions. Whether a local church sees itself as having a role in the mental health of the community or not, it does. This is not only because pastors are mental health's first responders, but because a healthy church provides a natural shelter in the midst of conflict and uncertainty through the informal support of its brothers and sisters who are you and I. Its members share hopeful, encouraging, and uplifting spiritual messages. The question is whether the local church plays a role in the mental health of the communities it serves. Rather, it is how the local church responds. A local church can respond by intentionally becoming a center of hope and health. The Spirit of the Sovereign Lord is here with us today because the Lord has anointed each and every one of us to proclaim the good news to all who we come in contact with. He has sent us to bind up and uplift the brokenhearted and to proclaim freedom for the captives and release each and every one of us who are going through dark times in our lives, who are prisoners of our past, to proclaim the year of the Lord, that we are a part of the Lord's favor. May the church live up to its theological and spiritual commitment to continue the healing ministry of Jesus to those struggling with their emotional health. And at this time, here ends our devotional reading. I will now hand over to Celia. Celia, are you there?
Right, before Celia comes, I think Lawrence would like to take us through 2 songs before Celia comes.
Okay.
Okay, so. Okay, so until Lawrence comes, the health department in collaboration with Family Life and the youth department, we're exploring the topic mental health. And it's mental health in children, adolescents, and young adults. And we're looking at the theme, faith in adversity. And what better time to be looking at such a topic, even as we are in this time of COVID, in this crisis, what better time? And so I would just like to welcome you all wherever you are this afternoon. So whether you are in your living room, your bedroom, wherever you are, and whatever age, if you're a preschooler, a school age, adolescent, young adult, middle age, or older adult, we just like to welcome you to AY this afternoon. And so this time, Lawrence is taking us through towards song service. So Lawrence, can you go ahead, please? Can you unmute Lawrence's mic, please?
Good evening. Alright, so I'll begin. We are together again, just praising the Lord. We are together again, in one accord. Something good is going to happen, something good is in store. We are together again, just praising the Lord. I feel good, good, good. I feel good, wonderful good. Every time I talk about Jesus, I feel good, good, good. Something in my heart like a stream running down. It makes me feel so happy as can be. When I think of Jesus and what he has done for me, there is something in my heart like a stream running down. It soon be done. All the troubles and trials when I get on the other side. I'm gonna shake my hands with the elders. I'm gonna tell all the people good morning. I'm gonna sit down beside my Jesus. I'm gonna sit down and rest a little while. Amen. 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 I will now hand over to Celia.
Happy Sabbath, everyone. Church. Good afternoon.
And I didn't know set them hacking to turn
Happy Sabbath, everyone. As we are winding down today's worship under the theme Faith in Adversity, I will now introduce our speaker for AY. She holds a PhD in counseling psychology from Andrews University and has served in the following capacities: clinical assistant professor of psychology and staff psychologist, prevention coordinator at the Counseling and Tertiary Center at Andrews University. She has also provided counseling and done numerous presentations on mental health topics at various conferences worldwide. Can you believe, church, she attended Washington Gardens during the years of 1992 to 1993 and also in December 1998? While at Washington, she served as Sabbath School secretary, served in the lay activities, and a member of the youth choir, and counselor and assistant director of Gemini Pathfinders. Church, this afternoon is this afternoon's speaker is none other than Dr. Stacy Nicely, a very passionate person whom God has chosen specifically for us this afternoon. As we go through our challenges of life, let us all now listen attentively so that we can learn and be able to apply whatever she will tell us this afternoon. Over to you, Dr. Nicely.
Thank you, Celia. Is everyone hearing me? Yes?
Yes.
Yes, we are.
Okay, wonderful. All right, thank you, Celia, for the introduction, and thank you to the pastor and the elders, the board of elders, and the departments, family life, children's department, health department, that put this program together and invited me to come and join with you. I'm excited to be here. For me, Washington is home. My membership is still there, so I'm still a part of the place to call home. So I will just go ahead and start sharing my screen so we can get started. We have a lot to talk about. Also on the line with us, we have Veronica Carballo. Veronica, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, Veronica is one of the master's level interns at the Counseling and Testing Center where I work. And she is working on finishing up her internship hours in clinical mental health. Veronica, would you like to say something else or introduce yourself to the members of the Washington Gardens family?
Yeah. Hello. My name is Veronica. I am, like Dr. Nicely said, I am a master's student at this university, and I'm doing my internship with the Counseling and Testing Center from Andrews University. Well, a little introduction of myself. I'm originally from Mexico. I was born there until I was 15 years old. I moved to the United States, but in the transition process to moving to the United States, I actually lived in Jamaica for 3 months. And I was with my parents at NCU, Northern Caribbean University. And so I love Jamaica. I learned to eat their patties. I forgot what I think that's what they are. And I really like them. I also went to the Mexican school. It has been a long time, but I really enjoy my time in Jamaica, and I really like it. And going to Ocho Rios was my favorite thing because I love the waterfalls and how they like merge into the water, the ocean water. So yeah, Jamaica has a place in my heart in the transition from moving from Mexico to the United States. So that's all, a little bit of myself, an introduction, and yeah.
All right, thank you, Veronica. So the topic that Washington Gardens chose for this afternoon is faith in adversity. And as I indicated before, I'm honored that you asked me to come by to share with you. And it's a topic that's near and dear to my heart. It's what I do on a daily basis, to talk about people and taking care of their mental health and staying well emotionally, so that you have the ability to deal with different misfortunes or adversities as you encounter them. So before we get started, I'd like for everyone to be able to access the poll. I'm trying to make it as interactive as possible. So if you can go ahead and put this information on your, just put that in our web page. pollf.com/stacynicely193, because at some points during the presentation, I'm going to be inviting you to participate, respond to different questions. So if you can put that in, that would be very helpful. Let me just bring that up on my phone as well. All right. I'm also going to ask the kids, I believe we should have some little ones with us this afternoon. If the kids could run to your art supplies right now and grab some paper. It doesn't have to be colored, but just grab some paper, grab some crayons, grab a pencil or a pen, just something to write with, and then grab maybe a plate or something that you can use to make a pure, clean circle. That would be awesome. Oh, someone is asking me to put the address in the chat. All right, let me do that. I'm just responding to a request to put the address in the chat so that people can access it. Cool. So it's pollf.com/stacynicely193. So it's there in the chat if you would like to be able to access it. And it does come up on each of the slides that I'm going to share with you. All right, so the first question is, I wanted to get a sense of who's in the room. So I'd like to see some responses coming up on that screen. Who's in the room? Who's online? Who's participating? Let's see one more chat. All right, I'm seeing the responses coming in. And this will give me a sense of, you know, how to probably adjust what I'm saying, because I do have some activities designed specifically for the kids. But if you're not here, then I will make the adjustments. So we have 13 to 19 through to age 70. None of the younger ones. 0 to 12, 1 to 12, under 12, nobody. Okay. One person in the 1 to 12. All right, so I think that gives me a good enough sense of who's in the room. So we have no one under 12. All right. So I think I saw that in the chat. Maybe one person did that in the chat. Okay, so we're gonna go along from this poll. I hope everybody got a chance to get their poll in, because we're gonna move on. Yeah, I'm seeing some people chatting here. Yeah, we do have 1 or 2 in the 1 to 12 age range. So, okay, I will still go ahead with those activities. All right, so I'm gonna move on from this poll now. Oh, I see people still responding. So 13% between 13 and 19, 13% between 20 to 30. 7% 31 to 40, and 27% between 40 and 60.
We have some in the 61 to 70 and nobody over 70. All right, so we're gonna move around. So I'll keep that age range in mind as I'm going through the presentation. Okay, I think my screen got stuck here. All right, so the question is on the table. What is faith? The theme that you have is faith in adversity. And based on the definition from the Merriam-Webster dictionary, as well as from the popular Hebrews 11 verse 1, we have faith in the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. According to the dictionary, faith is a belief and trust in and loyalty to God. It has to do with complete trust or firm belief in something for which there's no proof. It also has to do with allegiance to duty or purpose, fidelity to one's promise, and sincerity of intentions. Adversity has to do with difficulty, misfortune, a state or instance of serious or continued difficulty or misfortune. So we've defined faith and we've defined adversity. Faith, steadfastness, loyalty, or having a sense of purpose. Adversity, having to do with difficulty or misfortune. So the question on the table is, there's just so much going on my screen. How do I maintain faith, belief, or complete trust in and loyalty to God during moments of serious or continued difficulty or misfortune? Or how do I continue to believe in something for which I have no proof as I'm going through difficult times? And some of those questions might include, will I make it to the next grade? Will I make it to high school or college? Will my parents be able to afford the necessary resources? Will I be able to keep my job so I can provide for my family? Those are all questions that people have maybe during this time or generally any kind of adversity or misfortune. Some other focus questions: how can I continue to show firm allegiance or duty to the thing to which I'm called during difficult times or times of misfortune? Or how do I remain sincere in my intentions? And that has to do with your plans, goals, objectives during difficult times or during times of misfortune. So as I looked at your theme and looked at how those two words go together and what it is that you're wanting to accomplish, those are the questions that came to mind. Do you have any other questions that were not represented? If you do, just go ahead and type them real quickly. If not, we will move on. So do you have any other questions as it pertains to faith in adversity, and maybe even how that relates to your own mental health, your own emotional health? If you have any other questions that were not represented among what I just presented, just go ahead and type that real quickly. I'll give maybe another 20 seconds. If I don't see any questions popping up, I will just move on. Okay, so I'm seeing one question in the chat box with regards to youth and young adults. There is a lot of time we are faced with the saying that we are Christians, and so we should be able to cope with depression. How should the youth handle that? Good question. And I will definitely be addressing that as we go along in the presentation. So kind of attending to the issue of youths and young adults dealing with depression and getting that pushback that says, you know, you are a Christian, so you should be able to cope with depression. In other words, just get over it, suck it up, handle it, move on. I suspect that's probably some of the feedback you're getting. We will definitely touch on that. All right. So in brief, a quick response that I give right off the bat to those questions are, you can manage all of those questions, or you can provide appropriate responses to those questions by one, managing your thoughts, by managing your emotions, your feelings. And by doing that, you will understand the association between your thoughts and feelings, and by taking deliberate action. And we're going to go through each of these this afternoon. So what does our mental health have to do with being faithful during times of adversity? Why are we even making that association? And the answer is, well, our ability to make sense of and manage our thoughts and feelings determine how we behave and respond during difficult times. And being a Christian is not the only way that we can seek to cope with our emotions. And we'll definitely go through that. So the first part of what we will be looking at is understanding or managing our thoughts and feelings. On your screen, you should see a feelings wheel. And I'm hoping everyone is able to at least see the essence of the feelings wheel. If you're not, just feel free to pair up on your computer screen. I'm wanting to spend a little bit of time to go through the feelings wheel. So this feelings wheel, I have found it very helpful in my practice as I'm working with clients. I found that people are not good, or some people, or many of us, have not been taught how to recognize, name our feelings, and even more so, how to deal with them. We are probably taught to pray about it, read the Bible, or just suck it up and keep moving. But we really have not been good at acknowledging what is it that we're feeling, being able to clarify that feeling, so breaking down that feeling into the minutest form so that we can then figure out what to do with it. So if you look in the center of the wheel, you will see emotions such as bad, fearful, angry, disgusted, sad, happy, surprised. If you look one layer out, you will see another set of words that further refine what an emotion such as being angry might involve. So being angry could mean that you feel let down, humiliated, bitter, mad, aggressive, frustrated, distant, or critical. And even yet, one layer out on the outer wheel, let's just say you say you're feeling angry, and part of the difficulty, as I said before, is even if you're able to name that core emotion, which is what we used to refer to as the ones in the center, even if you're able to name that core emotion, some people have not been really good at figuring out what is that anger about. So I would hand them a feelings wheel and ask them to refine what it is that they're feeling. And if it is that, what they might look on the wheel and they see, okay, I'm angry because I feel let down. Oops. I'm angry because I feel let down because I was betrayed. And interestingly, sometimes anger and sadness might feel the same way at the core, but if we take the time to refine exactly what it is that's going on, you might think you're angry, but you're actually sad. And it could be that maybe you are grieving, you just lost someone, or you're feeling abandoned. And the beauty of being able to refine your emotion at the minimum is that you are able to figure out what is it that you need to do about what you're feeling at the core. So if you're feeling abandoned, you will know, okay, let me talk to this person who I think abandoned me, or let me seek out social support. Or if you're feeling, let me see, provoked, you can figure out, okay, this person said something or did something that hurt my feelings, and that's why I'm angry. So this feelings wheel is really important, and I would definitely recommend that we take some time to either make one or download. They're on Google. If you just Google feelings wheel PDF, you'll be able to access that. So my next poll, and this is for people aged 13 years and older. In one word, describe how you've been feeling over the past 2 weeks or later. So 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or maybe even today. In one word, just go ahead and type how you've been feeling over the past 2 weeks. And don't worry, I won't see any names coming up on the poll. So just go ahead and let's get some check. And I did leave the feelings wheel there so that you can get some sense of how to clarify your emotions. I see confused, hopeful, overwhelmed. Let's try to get those in as quickly as possible. So I'm seeing hopeful, exhausted, overwhelmed, confused. Any other? Tired. Ten more seconds and we'll move on from this. Grateful. All right, I am going to move on from this poll. So we got some responses. People are saying overwhelmed, exhausted, tired. Some people are grateful, some are hopeful, and some are confused. Lonely. Yep, definitely that's a common one during these times. I don't want to leave anyone out, but I also don't want to spend too much time. Empty. Yep. And thank you guys for being brave enough and willing, depressed, to be vulnerable. It takes a lot of courage to dig inside of you, quiet, grateful, quite depressed, grateful, exhausted, empty. It takes a lot of courage to be able to look inside of you, to acknowledge what it is that you're feeling, and then being able to verbalize that. So I'm just wanting to affirm you as you do that, as you participate in this activity. Tired, actually. And also give you some sense of hope, so you know that just the act of taking the time to acknowledge what it is that you're feeling and just being honest about it is your first big step in the right direction. So kudos to you. All right. So we're going to move on from that slide. Then I had one for my kiddos. I think we have a few in the room. This one is a little bit more child-friendly. It just has the basic emotions: scared, sad, embarrassed, bored, disgusted, angry, happy, satisfied. And if there's any kid in the room and you're wanting to take on the challenge of making your own feelings real, you can grab your own little paper and get something that could give you a clean circle. So like I have with me here, a plate, a saucer, and just lay that on your paper and make a circle. And then go ahead and just make the different pies, areas of your circle, and write the words in and make your pointer. And parents, I also encourage that this is a great way to be able to communicate with your kids. What I can tell you is that a lot of us as church folk, we have not been socialized, as I said before, to access and to talk about our feelings. And when we don't, we have a lot of stuff that's bottled up on the inside. And we will go further into that. And when you send them off to college, that's when they will find a counseling center like the one I work with. And that's where they will give themselves the opportunity to talk about all that they've had bottled up inside of them over all of these years that has led to feelings of depression, loneliness, anxiety, and those issues are real, and they're also Christians. So I'm just going to encourage you to take some time to access the feelings wheel and make it a part of your home culture. You can put it up on your refrigerator, put it in the kids' room or somewhere so that they know it's okay to identify, talk about their feelings, and they are still Christians. The two are not mutually exclusive. So for the kids, maybe 12 years and under, if there's any in the room, how have you been feeling over the past 2 weeks? That one should be coming up on your poll now, if there's anyone in the room. And you would just go ahead and click on the face that represents how you've been feeling. Sad, not so sad, like very sad, kind of sad, neutral, happy, very happy. How have you been feeling? If there's anyone in the room. If not, we'll just go on. Nope, no kids. All right, we'll just move on. My screen doesn't transition as I would want it to. Not sure why it's doing that. All right, so now I'm going to touch a little bit on some factors that influence how we experience our emotions. So we know our feelings are there. We are humans, we have feelings and they're real. And even though we're Christians, yes, we will feel depressed and lonely and anxious. Our feelings are oftentimes influenced by three main factors. The first one is biology. Some of us have genetic variations that make us highly sensitive to environmental stimuli, right? And that's the genetic variation ADRA2B. We won't get into that, but biology and genetics sometimes make us predisposed to being depressed or having other mental health concerns. Then environmental influences such as extreme neglect or unexpected and significant disruptions, such as what we're going through right now, can also lead to mood disorders. And finally, our thoughts, just the way we think, just the way we make sense of our world, definitely influence how we feel. I thought it would be helpful to do a visual. So this is a PET scan of the brain of an orphan in Romania who was institutionalized shortly after birth. And it shows the effects of extreme deprivation in infancy. And children like this kid suffer extreme emotional and cognitive problems. If you look carefully, you will notice that for a normal brain, all of the structures are present. For the brain that has been subjected to chronic stress, there is deficits in development. And if there are deficits in development of the structure of the brain, then obviously you're going to have deficits in functionality, in how the brain works, in how we experience our emotions. So I'm going to encourage you, as using this as an example, to provide safe spaces for kids to be nurtured and to have their love needs met, so that development can occur in a healthy way, and so that we're not putting them at risk for having severe mental health concerns. As it pertains to depression, this is a PET scan of a brain of someone who's depressed. PET scan of someone of a brain that's not depressed. If you notice on this side, there are lots of blue, dark and light blue. And this is an indication that there really isn't a lot of activity. The neurotransmitters are not firing as they're expected to. Over here, where there's lots of areas that look lit, this is an active brain. Neurotransmitters are firing as they are expected to. What do you think you can expect from this person over here with a brain that looks pretty lethargic, with not a lot of activities? See these areas, signals are barely firing in these areas. What do you think you can expect? Anybody wants to take a go at that? What do you think you can expect from someone with a brain that looks like the one on my left? Always sleeping, does not communicate as much? Absolutely. And this has nothing to do with whether or not they're a good Christian. This just says that whether it is because of genetics, biology, whether it is because of some environmental factors, or maybe it is that they're demotivated, does not want to get up in the morning, tend to isolate oneself, absolutely, mentally slow, all of those are very accurate. And that's what depression will look like in somebody who's probably going to church every Sabbath, but they're just not functioning in other areas. And yeah, prayer does help. I will touch on that a little bit later, but sometimes we need more than prayer. And it's okay for us as a church family to know that someone should not be shamed or made to feel less than or made to feel lazy or worthless because they are demonstrating or exhibiting signs of depression. Someone says does not do well in school? Absolutely, all of those. And so if you have someone in your circle, in your family, in your church family, who is exhibiting all of those symptoms that you just listed in the chat box, yeah, it means that they are likely to be depressed. And it means that clearly the prayer alone has not been working, and maybe they need therapy, or maybe they need to attend a seminar like this or others to get some strategies, maybe some behavior activation strategies on how to manage, how to deal with their depressed mood. Why is my slide not advancing? looks like I'm having some technical difficulties on my end. All right. So our emotions and the purpose they serve. So whatever emotions, however we experience our emotions, whatever feelings we have, our emotions are messengers, and I really want us to remember that. Our emotions tell us that we need to say something, we need to do something, or we need to attend to something in our own lives. On the matter of saying something, it could be that you might need to approach someone. If you're feeling hurt or embarrassed, you might need to tell someone, I felt embarrassed when you yelled at me, or I'm worried that I might not get into the high school of my dreams. Whatever you're feeling, it's saying you need to be talking about it. You need to be saying something to someone, whether it is they hurt your feelings or you're worried about something and you're needing conversation, you're needing interaction to process. Our emotions send us messages that we need to do something. It could sound like, I am anxious about not having the tools I need for online school. Do you know of anyone who can help me? So reaching out to someone to help you take care of the situation that's triggering the emotion that you're having. Or I feel bad about hurting Jack's feelings. Let me go and apologize, right? So saying something, doing something, or attending to something in our own lives. I've been feeling discouraged and irritable lately. I think I need to start going to bed earlier, spending less time in solitary play on my phone, and spending more time interacting with others. So one of the key things I want us to remember is our emotions are messengers. God gave them to us as a means of us helping to take care of ourselves. And when those messages come, we need to respond to them. So of note, our emotions don't stop sending us messages because we are Christians. We're humans. We're Christians, but we're humans first. We're no less of a Christian because we feel depressed or anxious or experience any other difficult, and I put difficult in quotes because the level of difficulty has a lot to do with how we've been trained to respond. It just means we're human. The messages, meaning our feelings, don't go away just because we ignore them. They simply show up in unexpected ways and at the least convenient times, or they fester and manifest in the form of other concerns, such as physical ailments, behavioral problems, academic problems, clinical mood disorders, etc. Do you know anybody, or maybe it pertains to you, you've just been having these physical symptoms consistently, backache, lower abdominal pain, headaches, tightness in your neck or shoulder, and you keep going to the doctor and they don't know what to tell you. They don't know what's going on. It might be that you are dealing with some psychological issues, some emotional concerns, and you have not been paying attention to the messages that your feelings have been sending you. Your feelings are the body's normal and natural response to environmental stimuli, just stuff in the environment. The key is to learn how to train our thoughts to steer our feelings in the direction of faith, that is complete trust, purpose, duty, sincerity of intentions during adversity, so that we are physically, mentally, and emotionally available to take deliberate action. So if we have not been paying attention to the messages, it's almost like a visitor that keeps knocking on the door and you're inside pretending not to hear and it just keeps knocking. At some point, it's going to become a nuisance to you, but it's not going to go away because it's going to come back. And sometimes, as I said before, in these convenient ways. So our emotions, how do we experience them? So we've talked about the origins, the factors that influence them. We've talked about the purpose that they serve. Now we're going to talk about how do we generally experience our emotions. So our emotions generally happen in waves. Sometimes the waves are nice and calm, and sometimes they're intense, but they come in waves. And the idea is that we are expected, or the healthy approach is to equip ourselves to be able to respond to those waves of emotions. If you look on the chart on my right, you will see the chart in a wave form with the normal ebb and flow of a wave. What we try to teach individuals is, ideally, it helps to be able to manage your emotions so that you're not experiencing extreme highs or extreme lows. People who struggle with conditions such as bipolar disorder, you will find that they experience their moods in really intense ways. They're either really depressed or really in a manic phase. So the key is to be able to keep our emotions, manage them roundabout in the mid range. You probably know people that you would describe them as even keel, or emotionally stable. Not much ruffles their feather. Maybe not necessarily, not in all cases, but the goal is to be able to keep our emotions, manage the waves of our emotions, so that we're not experiencing those extreme highs or those extreme lows. And circumstances have a way of bringing on the emotions in extreme ways. But our ability to manage them, to recognize the message that they're sending us, and then being able to respond appropriately will put us in a really good place to be able to manage adversity. So how do we go about managing the waves of our emotions? We manage our emotions by learning to surf. Adversity sometimes come at us like strong waves, but mastering the art of riding the waves of our emotions means we are training ourselves to manage adversity like a pro. One author said, you can't stop the waves, but you can learn how to surf. So you can't stop adversity. When they come, they will come. But you can learn to surf the waves of those adversity. Feelings are much like waves. We can't stop them from coming, but we can choose which ones to surf. Adversities are much like waves. We can't stop them from coming, but we can learn how to surf them when they come. So let's normalize some common emotions that we've experienced during this difficult time, or difficult times in general. Some of you mentioned some that's on the list here: being depressed, feeling lonely, exhausted, tired. It's okay. I want everyone here to know that it's absolutely 100% okay to feel all of what you've been feeling, because you're human. The difference is maybe the intensity or the ways you've been experiencing your emotions and responding to them is probably what needs some adjustments. But your feelings, they're perfectly okay. So it's important that you acknowledge those feelings without shame or judgment. Shame or judgment coming from yourself, or shame or judgment coming from your community. See what message it is that your feelings are sending you, and then explore healthy, appropriate solutions or responses to those messages. I have a video here for the kids, and I think this is where I'm going to invite. Let's play the video first, and then well, since we don't really have any kids, I think I'm just going to move on from the feeling song. Is it okay, or should I play the feeling song for the kids? Are there any kids who really want to hear this feeling song? What do you guys say?
Yes, play the song, yes.
Okay. All right, let's play the song. Let me get that up. Are you guys hearing?
No, we can hear it. We can.
We're not hearing.
Okay, I probably didn't enable the part that says I need to. Sorry, let me try that again.
We're hearing you.
All right, let's try that again. Hear me now?
Yeah.
Sometimes you feel happy, sometimes you feel sad, sometimes you feel excited, sometimes you feel mad. You might laugh today, you might cry today, you might feel many different feelings, and they're all okay. You might feel worried about your first day of school. You might feel nervous to jump into the pool. You might feel excited for your party this afternoon. You might feel surprised when they jump out at you. Sometimes you feel happy, sometimes you feel sad, sometimes you feel excited, sometimes you feel mad. You might laugh today, you might cry today, you might feel many different feelings, and they're all okay. You might feel angry when he takes your bear. You might feel thankful when he shares. You might feel embarrassed when you trip and fall down. You might feel happy with your friends all around. Sometimes you feel happy, sometimes you feel sad, sometimes you feel excited, sometimes you feel mad. You might laugh today, you might cry today, you might feel many different feelings, and they're all okay. You might feel lonely if there's no one with you. You might feel hopeful that your wish will come true. You might feel silly when you play outside. You might feel proud when you win a prize. Sometimes you feel happy, sometimes you feel sad, sometimes you feel excited, sometimes you feel mad. You might laugh today, you might cry today, you might feel many different feelings, and they're all okay. Sometimes you feel happy, sometimes you feel sad, sometimes you feel excited, sometimes you feel mad. You might laugh today, you might cry today, you might feel many different feelings, many different feelings, many different feelings, and they're all okay. They're all okay.
So that's just for my kiddos to let them know that their feelings are okay. That it's okay to feel happy and sad all at the same time. And it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with them. It just means that they're human. I think, Lorraine, you'd want me to break now, and then after that, Veronica will talk to the kids a little bit. Lorraine, are you wanting to do the song now?
Okay. Okay, Donnie, you may go ahead and sing your song.
Happy Sabbath, AY.
Happy Sabbath.
Since I've started for the kingdom, since my life he controls, since I've gave my heart to Jesus, the longer I serve him, the sweeter he grows. The longer I serve him, the sweeter he grows. The more that I love him, more love he bestows. Each day is like heaven, my heart overflows. The longer I serve him, the sweeter he grows. Every need he's supplying, plenteous grace he bestows. Every day my way gets brighter. The longer I serve him, the sweeter he grows. The longer I serve him, the sweeter he grows. The more that I love him, more love he bestows. Each day is like heaven, my heart overflows. The longer I serve him, the sweeter he grows. The longer I serve him, the sweeter he grows.
Amen. Thank you. Is it Donnie? That was beautiful. All right, so at this point, Veronica is going to be talking with the kids about just some healthy ways that they can manage their emotions. So Veronica, should I just bring up the video first?
Yes.
All right, let's do that. All right. Are you guys hearing me today?
Yeah.
Okay.
This technique will take you through your 5 senses to help remind you of the present. This is a calming technique that can help you get through tough or stressful situations. Take a deep belly breath to begin. Number 5. Look around for 5 things that you can see and say them out loud. For example, you could say, I see a burger. I see a bird. I see a soccer ball. Number 4. Feel. Pay attention to your body and think of 4 things that you can feel and say them out loud. For example, you could say, I feel my feet warm in my socks. I feel the hair on the back of my neck. Or I feel the pillow I'm sitting on. Number 3, listen. Listen for 3 sounds. Say the things out loud. It could be the sound of running feet, an airplane flying by, or the sound of a dog barking. Number 2, smell. Say 2 things you can smell. It's okay to move to another spot and sniff something. If you can't smell anything at the moment, or you can't move, then name 2 of your favorite smells. Number 1, taste. Say 1 thing you can taste. It may be the toothpaste from brushing your teeth, or the flavor of your bubblegum. If you can't taste anything, then say your favorite thing to taste. Take another deep belly breath to end.
All right, let me just go ahead and bring the.
Yes, so as you can see from the video, that strategy that we're talking about is to help calm your emotions if they are becoming too overwhelming and it's starting to feel very stressful. Some people may feel very anxious and very stressed, but they don't really realize what's going on. And so Dr. Knight already talked about that. Basically, what this does is help you in the moment to realize, okay, I'm having a very difficult time, difficult moment. I'm feeling stressed, I'm feeling anxious, I'm feeling worried, I'm feeling, etc. And this just helps you to, in a very short period of time, kind of process those emotions, while you're also distracting yourself from those negative emotions that may be becoming too overwhelming, but also making you feel in the present, which is the important part, because sometimes we wander in our mind and we let things get a little bit blown out of proportion in our minds. So using the 5 senses, like the video shared, it's a very easy way for children. This is really good because they know the senses. They can understand what they smell, they can understand what they taste, they can understand what they look, and it could be a playful and an enjoyable type of, like it could be a playful game. Breathing is very important. The video talked about it. And an easy way to like make breathing the most, to help breathing be effective is, so let me just demonstrate it. So you're going to inhale for 5 seconds, and you hold it for another 5 seconds, and then you exhale for 5 seconds. Well, I couldn't really do it right now because I was talking, but you inhale for 5 seconds, you hold your breath for another 5 seconds, and you exhale for another 5 seconds, and you repeat that for as many times as you want, but maybe 10 times can be more than enough. For children, going to a safe space, which could be their bed, holding a blanket or a toy that they like, that can give them comfort and make them feel safe. Also going to their parents, drawing what they feel, and that's a very important one because it's creative. It could be part of like games in which they're like drawing, but also they can express what they feel, and they can show their parents and talk about it. And so parents can be good. The process of doing that, the parents can have the opportunity of talking with their children about how to manage also the emotions that they're feeling. One of the greatest things is, personally, even for me as an adult, is repeating my favorite Bible verse. For me, it's Psalms 23. And I've always, when I felt hopeless, when I felt sad, when I can't sleep sometimes at night, I just repeat it. And it's just a comforting feeling to know that I have a promise that God is going to be with me in the hard times. So teaching children Bible verses is still very important because they can make use of that when they're having a difficult time. They can hold on to those promises from God. Free play, imaginary play. So kind of like telling children like, like making a simulation game, I guess is the word. I'm not sure what word I want to use, but basically just kind of like how would they handle situations if they were in a moment of stressful situation. Like, so if they're feeling sad, how are you feeling sad? And they will talk out about how they will handle addressing feeling sad. And if they were upset at some of their friends or a sibling who made them feel sad, how would they react to it? And parents can facilitate that time for children to process their emotions through just playing imaginary what they will do if they could change the situation that they're feeling in the moment. So it's simple. The video that we showed is simple because, like I said, children know the five senses. It helps the children to become aware of their emotions when they're feeling sad, scared, anxious, stressed, angry. It helps those emotions to de-escalate, but it's also fun. They can see it as a game. The next slide.
So I'll take it from there, right? All right. So that was for the kiddos, hoping that you'll be able to, you got something from that. And when I go through breathing activities with the people that I work with my clients, sometimes it might seem trivial and it might seem like, oh, what's the point? What does breathing have to do with anything anyway? Well, what breathing does is when you are in an emotionally charged space, when you're upset, when you're really mad at somebody, when you're worried or anxious, all that's happening is that the limbic system in your brain, that part of the brain that's responsible for your emotions, that becomes really flooded. So let's just pretend that my fist is the brain. Let's just say this is the brain stem. In the middle part here is the limbic system, and let's just say the top part is the prefrontal cortex, the part that's responsible for thinking, the frontal lobe. When we become really upset or really emotional, this mid part of the brain becomes flooded, and figuratively speaking, it almost flips. So it has a tendency to overpower the frontal lobe of the brain. That's the part that's responsible for thinking. That's what happens when you're really upset or emotional. What breathing does is to introduce or to engage the parasympathetic nervous system, or that part of the brain that, or the central nervous system that helps us to calm down and reduce the flooding that's in the mid part of the brain, so that the frontal lobe can be available to think rationally. All right. And so we're talking about faith in adversity. Managing our emotions is absolutely critical, because it's only when we're able to think rationally, it's only when the frontal lobe is available to think and process information, that we are able to engage the strategies that we need to deal with adversity. So that's the rationale behind deep breathing. So in addition to being able to respond, to recognize, to name our emotions and respond to them, we also have to assess our belief systems, right? So know when your thoughts are irrational, meaning they're not based on facts or logic or reasoning. Some irrational thought processes are jumping to conclusions, that is interpreting the meaning of situations with little or no evidence. So if you find that you have the tendency to see something happening and right away you just kind of jump to conclusion that that's what it means, that's a faulty way of thinking. And you could find that you are having all kinds of unnecessary emotional reaction because you don't have all of the evidence. Another irrational thought process is operating from the space that says you must or you should or you ought. So those musts and shoulds and oughts tend to keep us captive to our thoughts and emotions. So for example, I must be competent in everything or I will never succeed. Well, can we really be competent in every single thing though? Well, if that's the case, then we wouldn't need different professions or different people with different areas of expertise. So it's okay to exercise self-compassion and not have those must and shoulds and oughts expectations. catastrophizing, seeing only the worst possible outcome of a situation. So you're going through a difficult time and all that your mind can think about is the worst. That's an irrational thought process, and that can sap you of the energy that you need to push through and to deal with adversity. And these irrational thought processes also lead to disorders such as depression or anxiety. Because if you're thinking that, well, I'm in college and I should get all A's. My parents said ought to get all A's. Well, yeah, I feel like I'm a high performer too, but you know what? Sometimes life happens and I don't get all A's. Does that mean I'm a failure? Absolutely not. It just means that for that one test, I didn't do as well as I would have wanted to, and it doesn't make me any less of a competent person. So we want to watch those must and shoulds. Fortune telling is also another irrational thought process. The expectation that a situation will turn out badly without having adequate evidence. So you're going through a difficult time, and all that you can think of is the worst. That this situation isn't going to get any better, and you really don't have the evidence of that. So take some time to assess your belief system, to assess how you are processing information, how you are making sense of the world around you, and seeing if those thought processes that you have, if they are rational or irrational, and if they are irrational, then you might need to be challenging those belief systems. So the way you challenge them is to check the facts. Find the evidence that's there for what it is that you are believing. What do you believe about yourself, about the difficulties you experience, and about your ability to cope during a crisis or to demonstrate faith during adversity? What do you believe about yourself? And that goes a long way into determining how you're able to bounce back or exercise faith in adversity. As I was preparing this presentation, I thought about my research, and chances are some of you online might have participated in the research at the time. And the findings, so the topic was looking at factors that people in Jamaica, Rwanda, and the US use to bounce back or deal with negative life events. And rather interestingly so, my study found out that perception of self, and perception of self refers to one's self-esteem, self-efficacy, and self-liking. That was the only factor that was significant among the people from Jamaica who participated in my study. That's what they use to bounce back from negative life events. I was expecting to see things like maybe spirituality or social support, but no, the Jamaicans who participated in my study were saying perception of self, how they feel about themselves, what they think about their ability to get things done, and how they like themselves was the factor that contribute to bouncing back. And I thought I'd share this with you because it is an important protective factor. How we think about and feel about ourselves goes a long way. Another strategy is ABC of managing our emotions. So if we think about A as the activating event, B as our belief about the event, and C as the consequence. And this is one effective strategy that I like teaching to my clients because it helps them tap into the area of dysfunction or the area that's keeping them stuck. Now, if you look at the ABC formula, the activating event, we really don't have much control over. Things just happen, life happens. Then we have some belief about the events, and as a result of our belief system, then we have the corresponding behavior. So the way to change our behavior as we respond to the activating event is to change our belief about the event. So if you think about the ABC strategy, and if you think about any adversity that you're going through, whatever you are believing about that event will lead to a corresponding behavior or response. So for example, we're going through this COVID situation, and it's just disruptive for everybody. And there are some students who don't know how high school is going to work out. They don't know if they're going to be getting into college. We don't know. So the activating event in this instance would be, say, maybe COVID, or it could be that you lost a loved one, or it could be that whatever other activating event you can think of. It could be that maybe someone walked out of a relationship on you. That's the activating event. Your belief about that event, let's just say someone walked out of a relationship on you. You start believing, well, I'm a bad person. Well, I'm not good enough. Well, because I wasn't doing this, or I wasn't saying that. That belief system will lead to a behavior that says you begin to feel bad about yourself and behave in a way that you begin to isolate, or you begin to engage unhealthy coping strategies, such as maybe substance use or just whatever other unhealthy kinds of coping, all triggered by the belief about the event. But if you could find a way to go back into that formula and change the belief that you have, I guarantee you it changes the outcome. So someone walks out on you, you could believe, oh, well, I guess he wasn't ready for me, or she wasn't ready for me, or whatever else. But try not to make it a belief system that then leads to a behavior that's dysfunctional, or that's unhealthy, or that doesn't give you the kind of output that you would want for yourself. So we have the power to change our behavior or our response during times of adversity by changing our belief about the event. Another strategy I want to share with you is the decision tree to help manage worry and anxiety. And I find this to be very effective when I'm working with clients who are dealing with anxiety, or just a tendency to worry about anything and everything, the worriers. So the worry decision tree has at the top, of course, you notice the worry, and we went through that earlier on in the presentation of noticing the worry, noticing your emotions, paying attention to them and being able to name them. Then you're going to ask yourself, what am I worrying about? So you might be worried about, say, let's just say you didn't get to take the, is it GSAT, or I don't know what you call it now. You didn't get to take a placement exam to get into high school, and you're worried, if you're gonna get into the high school of your dreams. That's understandable, all right? So that's what we're worried about. The next question you're going to ask yourself is can I do anything about this situation that I'm worried about? Can I do anything about the fact that I didn't get to take my GSAT or CSEC or whatever else? Can I do anything about that? If you answer yes to that question, then you make up an action plan. What you're going to be doing, when you're going to be doing it, how you're going to be doing it. Is it now? Then you do it now. And once you've done that thing, then your only other option is to let the worry go and change your focus of attention. When I go through this with my clients, I will say, but Doc, I tried to let it go and it didn't really work. I say, well, did you follow through with, it's a two-part thing. You're going to let it go, and then you're going to change your focus of attention. But if you keep thinking about it, you're still worrying about it, all right? And if you've answered no, and I believe in this situation, I didn't get to take my GSAT or CSEC, I would want to think that when you've asked yourself that question, can I do something about this? I want to believe that your answer is no. There's absolutely nothing you can do about the fact that you didn't get to take the GSAT or the CSEC. It's not your fault. You didn't ask for all of this disruption. Life just happened. So if at any time you have a problem and you ask yourself, can I do anything about it? And you answer no, then you really truly only have one option, and that is you're going to let the word go and change your focus of attention. And Veronica just went through some strategies that you can use to change your focus of attention. All right. So this is one useful strategy that people can use to manage the energy that they exert into worrying, into getting anxious about the situation, and by extension, it saps you of the energy that you need to push through and be productive during adversity. I'm going to bypass that poll. So now it's time for deliberate action. Some easy coping skills. Veronica? Okay, she's
Yes.
I think you're up.
Okay.
So we're about some other coping skills, more so for the adults and adolescents.
Yeah. So the most important thing to know about the importance of positive coping skills is that the reality is we're not going to be able to avoid adversity or difficult times. It will be painful, and we will experience hardships, but they don't have to determine our outcome in our life. It's also part of it's within ourselves, and God has provided for us to be able to have certain control choices, make choices, and modify our decisions so that we can grow from them. A main aspect of also coping well is that not only helps us to go through get through those difficult circumstances or adversity that we may face, but also empowers our growth and improves our life along the way. So this is why it's so important for us to have that desire, not only the desire, but also the willingness to actually put in practice positive coping skills. One way that we can do that is very easily looking at ourselves in the future, imagining ourselves in the dream, living on the other side of the adversity. A very simple way in which I have put that into practice is when during the end of the semester, I'm stressed, lots of exams, projects, presentations, and many things are going on in my life as well. It becomes very overwhelming. But I picture myself walking out my last class, having finished everything and just going like this. And that really gets me through, because when I come to that point where I actually have my last class and I walk away, I actually do this, and it kind of feels like I finally fulfill what I envisioned myself completing. So you can do that yourself.
Veronica.
Another.
I think we see a hand. Wayne, do you have a question?
I'm sorry?
I think I saw someone raise their hand, Wayne Brown.
A hand? I'm sorry, I
have
can't
a question.
hear well.
Wait, I think I saw somebody raising their hand for a question.
But
I'm not
okay.
getting question.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I didn't see anyone. But if there is anyone who has a question, yeah, feel free to ask. I didn't see anyone raising their hand. That's why I was confused.
Okay, just go ahead through the other slides, Veronica. Maybe he'll.
Okay. So other things that we can do is New Start, which is kind of like the 8 remedies that Ellen DeWitt promotes, which is being active, resting, getting proper nutrition, getting sunlight, drinking enough water, having time for prayer or meditation in God's word. So all of these things are good and help us. They help us to kind of focus ourselves, which is the next point. By building that spirituality and like having that trust in God, we can be grounded in ourselves and have very easy strategies such as praying, reading, meditating in God's word, which is basically reading the Bible intentionally, trying to understand meaningfully what the Bible is saying about God in our life. self-help, we can always go and look for books to have self-growth, to become better people, better wives, husbands, children, sisters, to be better people in general and, fulfill God's work while we're on earth. Rely on our social support with our family, friends, is very that even we cannot physically be together in worship in a church, to connect each other to the social media or the technology to be able to get that, to continue to get that support. Also, be clear about your job description, be clear about your goals, and this is kind of different things going along, but be committed to perform well and faithfully, whatever you do, whatever work you do, whatever your student, you do your studies. If you are a mom, you're taking care of children, young children, commit to parenthood. So just be clear about them and make that a meaningful mission for you. Look at resources that you do have and intentionally use those to help you achieve your goals instead of focusing on what you do not have. And that's very important because sometimes we have problem-focused mentalities, or we just kind of like focus on the things that we don't have. And looking at the things that we do have and we can do with it can really change the way we perceive our lives and how we make an impact in other people's lives and change our lives. Develop a personal mission or a vision statement. This is very important for us. As Christians, we have a mission, and God shares that in His Word. But also in our daily life, we fulfill different roles, and like I said, different jobs. And we have to have that kind of personal mission that can help us to it helps us to remind ourselves why we're here, why are we doing what we're doing. So another way to do that is creating a vision board in which you can track or hold yourself accountable for the things that you are doing, that you need to do, and what you're looking forward to do in your goals. So if your desire is to go to college, or if you're a high school student and you want to go to college, what are the things that you need to get done and accomplish in order for you to get to that place? If you are a professional who wants to improve their career and wants to move on to a new job, what are the things that you need to do in order for you to do that? Another one is seeking counseling and therapy. It's very important because there are certain things that we cannot do alone. And our support system, though they love us and they care for us, they're not professional. And so sometimes we need people who have the education and the professional knowledge of how to handle even more difficult or more adverse situations. So counseling really helps. And the thing is, many people feel afraid of counseling and therapy because you're talking to a total stranger about who knows what, and you don't want them to judge you, you don't want them to make assumptions of yourself. But the good thing about counseling and therapy is that while you are actually talking to a stranger, that stranger is looking at you for who you are, and they're willing to work with you, and they're willing to help you through the hard times. And it's very good to go once in a while, or just go to try it and get started. It might be a very scary first thing, but with time, hopefully you get used. It's so good to try. If you've never tried it, you should. It's really good. Consult your primary care physician or psychiatrist. This is in cases where you may possibly need medication, and that's not always the case. I would suggest that we do everything we can to help ourselves become better people and to cope better. But sometimes we actually do need a lot of other resources that are not available to us on our own terms, and we need to reach out to professionals, like I said, counselors or a doctor. This is a video that has A to Z coping strategies.
I think I'm going to bypass the video, Veronica, because I know we're almost out of time, or probably out of time. So I'm going to bypass this video and just wrap up the presentation, okay?
Okay.
Right.
You can go and Google it on YouTube, and it's going to be there. A to Z coping skills strategies skills.
All right.
From A to Z.
All right, thanks, Veronica. And to wrap things up, in addition to our personal responsibility of being able to acknowledge our emotions, respond to the messages that they're sending us, checking our thought processes to see if they are rational or irrational, and assessing our belief system, just as means to become a lot more competent at managing adversity and engaging those other active strategies, taking care of ourselves physically, getting rest, exercise, having our personal devotions, building that relationship with God and staying grounded. We also have a collective responsibility during adversity. And one of the ways that maybe as a church family, as a group that we're looking out for each other and caring for each other, we can have a social support system or a buddy system where we establish and maintain a safe space for people, children, youth, young adults to be able to talk about their feelings without fear of judgment. I personally believe that this is one of the things that we as a church we struggle with. It's kind of almost like taboo to talk about what we're feeling without feeling like, well, I guess we're not being a good enough Christian. Or sometimes the only response that you can expect to get is you're not praying enough, or let's pray about it. And I'm a firm believer in prayer. I mean, prayer has got me to where I am today and other things, right? At some points, I need to lean on social support and feel safe, right? And as a clinician, I firmly believe and endorse that God puts different professionals here on earth. When you're sick, you go to the doctor. You know, you're not just staying at home and praying about it. It's the same thing for your emotional health. If you're having this constant headache, or if you're asthmatic, or if you're diabetic, or if you have hypertension, you go see a physician and you get medication to manage a high blood pressure or to ward off an asthma attack or whatever the case is. It's no different for our emotional health. If we're having emotional concerns, it's not okay that we feel like praying about it is enough. Sometimes we might need to be talking with a therapist. Sometimes we might need to be talking with a pastor. Sometimes we might need to be talking to our colleagues or a church sister. And if people are going to be coming to talk to us, then they need to feel safe. One of the things that we're oftentimes guilty of is what we call toxic positivity, where even when the world is falling apart and everybody around us is experiencing some level of distress, here comes this person who is just, well, God is good, life is good because God is good. Nothing is wrong with being positive, but sometimes it's okay to give people their space to just not be okay. And we need to be able to hold that space safely. Another role that we can play collectively is advocacy, being a voice for the voiceless, being a voice for people who don't have the resources. And that also bleeds into the other 2 points, and I know that Washington has been great at that. You're planning these community outreach programs and reaching out to the people around who are needing. And in times like these, people need support. You know, people might not have the electronic resources that they need to do online schooling. If you have the capacity, maybe you have an old laptop at home that works, but you just have not been using it, donate it to somebody who does not have. If you have some extra resources, maybe you can pay for the subscription for someone to get internet at home so that they can have the resources that they need to succeed. It's in times like these that we need each other, and we have to be able to do that in tangible ways. And we can find youth empowerment programs to cater to the needs of our young adults. Just sharing a little bit about just my own journey. I left Washington a few years ago in the late 90s. I was working in banking at the time, as many of you know, but I just sensed that this wasn't my calling, and psychology was calling me. And so I left and I went to Mandeville, did my undergrad in psychology, and after that, I just had there was this yearning for Andrews. I don't know, I have to say God placed it on me. But my friends who know me well from back then at NCU, they would say, my girl, it's like you were possessed with going to Andrews. I didn't have the money, I didn't have the wherewithal, but I had this dream and I kept it before God every day. But not only did I pray about it, I shared my dream with other people who helped to make that a reality. When I came here, I mean, adversity after adversity after adversity, one car accident after another after another. And of course, none of those were any fault of mine. But during those moments, I got set back in my program with my first car accident. I was bedridden for 2 months almost and couldn't walk for 6 months. I had to literally learn to walk again. And that for me was maybe one of the roughest points in my life. But here I am. It's been 10 years now since that accident, almost 10 years. And the point is, being able to find a way to have a purpose, know your purpose, acknowledge what it is that you're feeling, being able to be comfortable sharing your emotions with somebody, being vulnerable and knowing what is it that you're wanting to pursue and what resources you don't have, and sharing that with others who can help you to achieve the dreams or the goals or to deal with adversity. We can't do it alone, and it's okay to lean on each other. So the questions that you might have that we started out earlier with, all of the worries is, based on the information that we've covered about managing your thoughts and feelings and taking deliberate action, what will you commit to doing as a healthy approach to coping and demonstrating your faith during adversity? And I'm gonna bypass that. Final points. Life owes us nothing, like absolutely nothing, zero. Life owes none of us anything. But it's important to remember that the kind of relationship we have with our emotions can influence how we weather adversity. We have to pay attention to the messages our emotions send us and respond appropriately. Adversities will come and they will go, but we have to find our constant, stay grounded, and respond effectively. We influence who we become by how we respond during defining moments in our lives, and adversities sometimes serve as a defining moment. It becomes life before and after that moment in time. And so the question to ask yourself is, will adversity break you, or will you allow adversity to challenge you to become innovative, to grow, to widen your scope, all the while keeping your faith? And one of my favorite authors, Viktor Frankl, he was a psychiatrist, a Swiss psychiatrist, who was captured in the Nazi concentration camp. He eventually survived, and in one of his books, he has several different quotes that have been impactful on people's lives, and these two I like personally. When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. Everything can be taken from a man, but one thing, the last thing of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. And that's all I have for you today in terms of ways that we can manage our emotions and find faith during difficult times. Thank you for having me, and thank you, Veronica, for coming and sharing. Do we have any questions? No questions?
For Dr. Nicely, any question for her?
I think I saw Wayne Brown. I don't know if that was an arrow on Wayne Brown's part, but I think I saw his hand at one point.
Okay, if we have any burning question, we just hold it. We will pause for the Vesper thoughts. Elder Flynn will take us through and we will come back to the question and we just wrap up. Is that okay, Dr. Nicely?
Yes. Oh, I think I'm seeing some in the chat. Yes.
We could just hold those questions. Elder
Sure.
Flynn? Elder Flynn, are you there? Okay, I'm not hearing him. So at this time, can we just pause? We'll come back and let us sing "The Day Thou Gavest, Lord, is ended."
Yes.
Okay, Elder is there.
Right. Just the host has asked you to. Okay. Technology. Good evening, everybody. Good evening. What a wonderful presentation we've had this evening from our dynamic host and presenter, Sister Stacy Nicely. Right. And we know we're going to just close off the Sabbath here then we continue the question and answer. I wanted to sing the song, through it all, I've learned to trust in Jesus. I've learned to depend on his word. Through it all, I've learned to trust in Jesus. I've learned to trust in God, yes. Through it all, yes, through it all, I've learned to depend upon his word. Do I have a witness there this evening? Oh, bless the Lord, yes. Going through my global pandemic, brothers and sisters, has been one of the biggest trials for many people. And how we act will determine our destiny. We can be consumed by what we read and hear all around us, or we can choose to consume and focus on the truths in God's word. Our thoughts affect our behavior. And Paul instructs us what kinds of things we should put in our minds in Philippians 4 and verse 8. And I read from the New International Version, finally says, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. And if we're going to be anchored in the midst of adversity, if we're going to maintain our faith and our stability in the midst of adversity, these are things and character traits that should be on our checklist. The things that are positive, lovely, admirable, what is right, and of good report, especially in these COVID periods. I would like to leave with us about 4 rations we face here, and God is bigger. The solutions, we start doubting and say, does God exist? Why doesn't God do something? Yes. And yet, the truth is, no matter how big our trials are, God is bigger than our trials. God is bigger. We used to sing a song from VeggieTales. God is bigger than the boogeyman. I don't know how many of us remember that song. But, we say, God is bigger than all our circumstances. And today we can say, don't tell me how big my problems are. Let us tell our problems how big our God is. This earth is the Lord's, Psalm 24:1, and so are we. And the song says to little ones, from we've been singing the song in Sabbath school. He's got the whole world where? In his hands. He's got the tiny little baby, you and me, brother, right where? In his hands. Going through this untried week, we should recognize that we are not alone. God is here and is with me. And one of the hardest things about trials is feeling that I'm alone in it, friends. And so when we look at Deuteronomy chapter 31 and verse 6, it says, be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified because of them, for the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. And when we can't utter prayer, guess what, friends? God reads our hurting hearts. And I say amen. God is in control, no matter how things look and no matter how things change, brothers and sisters. In the situation of Daniel and Shadrach and Meshach and Abednego, in the situation of David, we recognize that God, who was in control back then, is still in control today. Won't you say praise the Lord? The next thing we want is to focus on is that this trial that we're going through is for a reason. This trial is for what? A reason. And too often in life, we try to figure out what God is doing when we're going through difficulties. Job chapter 23 and verse 10 says, the Lord knoweth the way that I what? Take. And when he, that is God, has tried me, I shall comfort as pure gold. I shall comfort as pure gold. God, my friends, has pointed out to me in my devotion that he doesn't waste anything. And though it seems as if we're being burnt, brothers and sisters, he's just refining us for a better purpose in life. Coming down to my penultimate point, as we go through this untried week, tells us that God has a plan for our lives. Jeremiah 29 and verse 11. We should always remember, friends of God, that it doesn't matter what we are going through, no matter what the trials we're facing, we can trust God. And finally, I want to let you know that God will give you and I the strength, what we need to go through this week and these COVID times. Trials exhaust us. Trials will sap every ounce of energy we have. We find ourselves wondering how we can go on even one more day. Yeah. But the good news and the best news this evening as we go through this coming week, God is all powerful. God is almighty. Satan might be mighty, but our God is almighty. Won't somebody say praise the Lord? And God's strength never diminishes. God's strength never diminishes. God has promised, my friends, that in Isaiah 40 and verse 31, that when we wait on him, he will renew our strength and we shall mount up with wings as eagles. We shall run and not grow weary, and we shall walk and not faint. With God's strength and with our will to win in his name, you and I can soar to victory. Won't somebody say praise the Lord? So this week, brothers and sisters, as we come to the end of this week and face this untried week, this week, let us remember that God is bigger than our circumstances. Let's say that together. God is bigger than our what? Circumstances. Let's remember that we are not alone. God is in control and he is in the ship with us. Let's stay aboard. The ship comes with me. Let us remember that although we are going through the furnace of affliction, the trials are for a specific purpose. And God is just refining us for a reason. And I want to say, when we can see the beauty of Jesus reflecting in our lives, brothers and sisters, we can say, yes, we have comfort as pure gold. And finally, God will provide the strength we need, the mental tenacity, the financial resources, yes, and the spiritual vigor. God will empower us as we go through this week. Brothers and sisters, I praise God this evening, from whom all blessings flow, and God will give us the strength to go on. We're going to sing this song, I Cast All My Cares Upon Him, after which Sister Karen Ferguson from the Cayman Islands. Karen is online and she's going to do a benediction, and then we move right into the other phase of the presentation from Dr. Nicely. I cast all my cares upon you. I lay all of my burdens down at your feet. And anytime I don't know what to do, I will cast all my cares upon you. Let's sing it one more time, church. I'll cast all my cares upon you. I lay all of my burdens down at your feet. And anytime I don't know what to do, I will cast all my cares upon you. Let's bow as we have Sister Karen pray for us.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, great and mighty is your name in all the earth. We come giving you thanks and praise at the end of another wonderful Sabbath. We're grateful to you, Lord, for the many messages that you have sent to us from last evening in the Vesper service throughout today up until the Vesper service now. We're grateful to you, Lord God, that in spite of how wayward we are and how stubborn we are, you love us unconditionally. As we now face a new week, we face it, some persons with great fear and trepidation. Some persons are unsure, but none of us know what tomorrow holds. But we know who holds tomorrow. So help us to place our full faith, trust, and confidence in you. Dear Lord, you reminded us in Proverbs 3, 5, and 6 that we're to trust in you with all our hearts. Lean not to our own understanding. In all our ways, we're to acknowledge you, and you will direct our path. The whole environment of the last couple of months on planet Earth has been one of great fear, great anxiety. But help us to put all that fear at your feet, to cast all our cares upon you, because you have proven in the past that you're a faithful God. You've proven that you do not want to hurt us. You do not want to bring us into disrepute. So as long as we trust you, you will take us safely through. There's no need for us to worry. There's no need for us to fear, because we serve the God of the universe. I pray a special blessing upon every family represented in this meeting. I pray a special blessing upon the entire membership of the Washington Gardens Church and the leadership as well. And may each person through this season and beyond seek to have a closer walk with you as we prepare for your soon return. Bless us, Lord, keep us, and may we be numbered among those who you shall call to take home when you come. These mercies we ask to your precious holy name. Amen.
Amen. So at this time, thank you very much. Thanks, Elder. Thanks, Sister Karen. At this time, we're going to take a song from Lawrence. He has been waiting to grace us. Then we'll go back to our question and answer and our vote of thanks.
when I in awesome wonder consider all the worlds thy hands have made. I see the stars, I hear the rolling thunder that part throughout the universe displayed. Then since my soul, my Savior God, to thee, how great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee, how great thou art, how great thou art. And when I think of God, his Son not sparing, sent him to die, I scarce can take it in, that on the cross, my burden gladly bearing, he bled and died to take away my sin. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee, how great thou art, how great thou art. My soul, my Savior God, to thee, how great thou art, great thou art. Come with shout of acclamation and take me home. What joy shall fill my heart, and I shall bow with humble adoration and dare proclaim, my God, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee, how great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee, how great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee, how great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee, how great thou art, how great thou art, how great thou art, how great thou art.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Lawrence. All right, so we go back to Dr. Nicely. If you have any question, it's your time.
I have responded to some in the chat already. Some people just prefer to get their questions answered in the chat, so I did that. I don't know if anyone else has any other question that they want to ask publicly.
I do have a question.
Oh yeah, Anna, I see your hand. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Well, as you know, children do not come with manuals, right? And parents have to walk with them through different phases of their lives without proper knowledge of how to deal with the phases. So when a parent parents have a child or children who sometimes have periods of emotional downs, and when they try to help the child, they seem only to be making things worse. The children, you may become aggressive or upset and just tell them that they're not helping. What kind of advice would you give for the parents for themselves as well as for the child?
That's a good question. I think the first approach is, and it also applies to adults, even as we're trying to reach out to others who might be hurting, is to acknowledge that you see them. I see that you're hurting. I see that you seem like you're feeling sad. You seem to have been upset in the past couple of days. I care about you and I want to be there for you. And sometimes it's okay sometimes to tell them, but I'm not so sure what you might find helpful. What do you feel like you need most right now? What do you think would be most helpful for you? And just coming at it from that angle, you first of all tell them that I see you. You've not been invisible to me all this time. I see that you're off. I see that something is different. I care about you. I don't know what's going on, but I also respect your space. I respect what it is that you might be experiencing. And I'm inviting you to invite me into your world and tell me what is it that you might be feeling. If you notice, I illustrated the feelings wheel. That's one great way to broach the conversation. Let them know I see you. What's going on? What are you feeling? I want to be there for you. How can I support you? And you can give them the feelings wheel. Say, tell me what you're feeling, and have them point to what they're feeling, and then ask them, what do you think that's about? What's causing you to feel that way? So I think that the best approach is entering from a place of being tentative, and also entering from a place of curiosity. I'm wanting to know what's going on with you. I don't want to make a mess of it. I don't want to pretend that I know all of what's happening. What will be most useful for you? And more often than not, when you take that approach, they'll tell you. Or if they don't know, or if they're not ready to talk about it, just let them know that you're there to listen. And when they're ready, they can come to you. Does that help, Antoinette?
Thank you. I find that very helpful.
Okay. I'm seeing someone who said there's a flip side to that question because you have parents who cannot be spoken to. So what advice do you have for youth? Yeah, that's a tough one, because here's the reality. Talking about feelings in our cultural context is generally not a thing. I mean, let's just acknowledge the elephant in the room, and let's just acknowledge that thing about the way we do life. It's generally not a part of our culture, but generally speaking, in some contexts it might be different. So there is that difficulty. And yes, it's true that sometimes you might approach parents and they can't be spoken to. And oftentimes it's because parents, you can't give what you don't have. And it's not that parents aren't wanting to be there, but if as we are experiencing it today, we are not great at talking about feelings. Well, what do you think the era would have been when your parents grew up? Talking about feelings was just not a thing. You go play outside or suck it up or something. Get over it. So parents might not know what to do, and that's the reality. So in those instances, you might need a third party. That's where maybe your counselor, your guidance counselor at school come in, or your psychologist or counselor at your university. That's where people like those will come in. Um, Other responses I could give to that, but you might still meet upon a brick wall, is sometimes I invite kids to write parents to their letters, write letters to their parents, sorry, to communicate what's going on with them. However, you can only do that successfully if you sense that the space is safe, if you sense that your parents are going to be responsive. But if you sense that parents don't know what to do, and sometimes they genuinely don't know, it's not that they're trying to be bad parents, it's that they just don't know. It wasn't taught to them, so they can't give you what they don't have. So presentations like this, it's the hope that it will equip parents to understand that your young people are having real struggles. And what I can tell you, and what I've told parents in meetings where I go and I do presentations, is your kids are struggling with a lot, but I know and you don't know. In my line of work, I will see tons of students who will come and they're dealing with depression, they're missing classes, they're anxious, they're using alcohol and other substances to deal with their concerns. And then when they come back home to you, they're the good Christian child that you sent to university, and they're good at playing that game. But beneath all of that, they're struggling. But you don't know because you haven't created that safe space for your kids to talk to you. And even if you don't know what to do or how to respond, it's okay to acknowledge that and then put them on to the people who can help. I remember when I was becoming a teenager, I mean, I didn't quite like my mom's approach, but that was the approach, and it worked. It was time to give the birds and the bees conversation. My poor mother didn't know what to tell me, so she took me over to the neighbor next door, who was, I think she was a guidance counselor at school or something, to give me that birds and the bees talk. But the point is, I got the talk from reputable source. It wasn't my mom, but I got the talk. So if you can't give your child what he or she needs, find somebody. First, recognize the importance of it, not because you grew up in an era that did not acknowledge feelings and didn't talk about feelings and just suck it up and okay. The truth is, many of us as adults were not okay, but we do a good job of masking it. And we get ourselves lost in work, whether it be church work or work. And that serves as a panacea. It serves as a screen, as a mask. It keeps us busy. And it drowns out all of those feelings and stuff that we never dealt with from our past. Now, in this generation, young people want to talk about their stuff. So if you can't provide that space, send them to people who can, and at least begin by acknowledging that I see you. And I understand that this is a difficult time for you. I don't know what to tell you, but let me see if Sister so-and-so, who is a counselor, a guidance counselor, or let me see if Pastor so-and-so can help. So parents, it's about providing that safe space. And if you can't be that ear because you don't know what to say or how to respond, then direct them to people who can. Encourage them to get help. Take them to a counselor or somebody who can help. Any other question or concern? Oh, I see a long question here. You also have parents that also experience really emotionally draining childhood, and they have not dealt with it. So their children get the blunt end of it. Do you have any advice with regards to that? Is it obviously a change thing? How can that be broken? Yeah, that's a good question too, and I think I touched a little bit on it. Um, I think it has to start. So parents might not necessarily make the first move to get the help to deal with their concerns. Because as I mentioned earlier, they probably were raised, well, not probably, quite likely, were raised in an area, in an era that talking about feelings was just not a thing. I mean, either it is that you don't have anyone to talk to, or it just wasn't the norm. And so, yes, sometimes the kids experience the brunt of those unresolved issues. Parents either discipline by constantly yelling at kids or putting them down or calling them names. Um, and so, or not knowing how to trust your child. So your teenager you might see your teenager talking to somebody of the opposite sex, and right away trigger something in you that has been unresolved, and you project that onto your child, and you feel like, well, the same thing that happened to you, whatever that is going to be their demise. And so you project your insecurities or your fears or your unresolved stuff onto that child, and then they grow up in a space where they don't feel like their parents trust them. They don't feel like they have the permission to go and become and explore the world in a safe space. So it kind of is up. It's now left to the youth to find ways to get help. As I mentioned earlier, on my campus, I work in the University Counseling Center, and the young people take it upon themselves to come and get the help they need. Because now that they're in college and now that the resources are available to them and it's free, they go and they talk to a counselor. Parents don't know, and they know that we can't tell parents. So they make sure that they come and they make use of the free service. There are some students from the moment they enter college until the day they leave, 3 or 4 years later, they are seeing a counselor. So it kind of, if parents aren't making the first move, whether it is because they don't know how, they don't think they have the resources, they don't think they need to, whatever the reason is, the youth will have to take it upon themselves to get the help they need. To establish the kinds of boundaries that see you taking care of your own mental health. Because the truth is, your mental health is your responsibility, especially when you've passed the age of childhood and you're now an adult. It really becomes your responsibility. So it's difficult. It's not always easy to be navigating that road on your own, but it part of the healing starts with recognizing that, okay, there's something I'm needing in my life as it pertains to my mental and emotional health, and my parents can't give it to me. Doesn't make them bad parents. It simply means that they don't have the resources. And some of the clients I see, they struggle with that. Like they wish their parents could be more available. They wish their mom could be this way. They wish their dad could be that way. And you have to work with them to get to the place where they begin to accept that the thing that they've been wanting from parents is never going to come. So let's grieve the loss of that ideal parent that you had in mind. And then let's see how we can find a way to work towards you becoming the best version of yourself. See the material, see the raw material that your parents have been giving you as 100% of what they can give. Maybe it's not the 100% of what you want or what's ideal for you, but it's all they have to give. So let's grieve the loss of the portion you never had, and then let's see if we can find a way now to equip you with the tools to work on your own self and becoming what it is that you're wanting to become or who you're wanting to become. I'm hoping that answers the question. So the question is, how can that cycle be broken? With you as a young person. By seeking out and getting the help that's needed. Any other question? I hope I'm not missing anything in the chat. I think that's it. I'm not seeing anything else in the chat. Wait. I think I just saw one message coming in. Can the host help me read those questions, please? I think I just saw one question come in. At question 2, where's question 2?
One says there's one that says I have experienced being sent to a psychologist or psychiatrist when I was younger, and I guess being a minor, the professional had to tell my parents, and my parents like boxed me in the wherever that was. And from that, I have always disliked the idea of going to a psychologist or any brand of that profession, especially if they are non-Christian. That's the comment.
Right. Yeah, I'm seeing the question. So is there like any light in that somewhere, because some professions are really not professional? So it seems like the issue is that this person was sent to a psychologist when they were a minor.
Mm-hmm.
And is it that the person is saying the psychologist disclosed to the parents what it is that they talked about, and the parents responded in a way that wasn't helpful?
It sounds that way, yes.
Okay. I'm sorry that was your experience. That definitely would have left you with unpleasant feelings about going to a psychologist or a counselor or a psychiatrist. The thing about seeing a psychologist or a psychiatrist or a counselor when you are a minor is that your parents have access to your records. However, it's also good practice that psychologists, psychiatrists, counselors help parents and minors to understand that in order for this work to be effective, we're wanting to create that safe space for the child. So it's a pity, and I'm really sorry again that was your case. It's a pity that psychologist was not able to did not handle the matter in a more appropriate way by only disclosing the information that's necessary to the parents, so long as no harm is being done to the child or the parent. The psychologist could have done a better job of filtering that to protect you as a minor, to protect the client as a minor. But of course, they have no control over how parents will respond. And maybe it is that something was disclosed that caused the parents embarrassment and they reacted the way they reacted. That was very unfortunate. It should not have happened that way. And I'm sorry that was the case, because now you're left in a space where you probably are not trusting of the therapeutic relationship of that space. But my response to that is to encourage you to give it a try again, right? Because as I said earlier, if you look at it from the perspective of you taking care of your health, sometimes you go to one doctor because you have a physical concern and you really didn't like what you got from that doctor. Either you didn't know what they were doing or you wanted a second opinion. Like now is the time to go get your second opinion, because clearly the first attempt when you were a minor didn't work out well. So I'm encouraging you to find a way to seek out a second opinion. I would encourage you to give it another try. I would also say that it wasn't about you, and it likely wasn't about the psychologist. It was about your parents. They responded in a way that created that distrust in you. And it's hurtful. It's hurtful. And again, I'm sorry that that happened to you. For the sake of your own emotional health, though, I'm wondering if you'd be willing to give it another try. I'm wondering if you'd be willing to seek out someone else that you know, maybe do your research on that person to make sure that they're trusting. And now that you, well, I guess you are an adult now, I don't know who's asking this question, but now that you're an adult, your information cannot be or should not be released to anyone. And if that counselor or psychologist that you're working with or would try to work with is practicing ethically, they cannot release any information to anyone unless you sign to say they can. So now you are in a more empowered place. So I'd say use that empowered place to your advantage and go get the help that you deserve to get. Get that second opinion. I'm hoping that that answers your question, or at least help you to make sense of what happened and how you can move forward. Yeah, so I'm hoping that that helps. Any other question or concern? And you can let me know in the chat if you feel that was helpful, whoever asked that question.
Somebody's saying you did not look at number 2, not quite sure what number 2 is.
I thought the question you read was number 2. I'm seeing one that says parents who cannot be spoken to, and then number 2 that says parents who've had emotionally draining childhood and they have not dealt with it, so their children get the blunt of it. And I did address that to say that the individuals will now need to make that their responsibility. So a lot of the things that happen to us are not our fault, but at some point it becomes our responsibility to deal with those issues. So trauma or issues that parents might pass on to us inadvertently, it's not our fault because we didn't ask to be here, and we didn't ask to be born into the families that we were born into. And in many instances, parents are doing the best with the resources that they have. So it's not our fault at all. But if we find that we've been injured in the line of interpersonal interactions or familial interactions, if we're carrying any hurt from those relationships, it really is our responsibility to go get the help that we need. Yeah, somebody said the question was answered.
Okay.
All right, any other questions, concerns?
Sounds like it now.
Okay.
I saw one new question. Okay. All right. Thank you, Dr. Nicely. Dani?
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Good night, everyone. On behalf of the Washington Gardens family and our pastor, Christopher Atkinson, we thank you, Dr. Stacy Nicely, for taking the time out of your busy schedule to come and talk to us on the topic, mental health in children and adolescents. It was truly informative. 3 points I found interesting are: 1, feelings that one of the biggest steps we can take is to talk about it. 2, emotions are messengers. They tell us how we feel, and when they come, we should respond to them.
Okay.
Strategies for kids: draw how you feel and show it to your parent or guardian and explain to them what the drawing means. It was truly a blessing to have you here with us today. I hope pretty soon you will come back and share with us some more. God bless.
Thank you for having me. And again, as I said, it was my pleasure. Washington for me is home. So yeah, it was my pleasure to come join you. And thanks also to Veronica who was able to join me to also do part of this presentation. So thank you, Veronica, and thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Danny. So Dr. Nicely and Veronica, on behalf of the Family Life Department, Health and AY, I would just like to say, I'm joining Danae in saying a thank you very much. Indeed, we were blessed, you know, we were enlightened in terms of our emotions, that it's okay to feel and to express ourselves, and that even though we are Christians, it doesn't mean that we can't, you know, get depressed. And so we really shouldn't scoff at anyone who is depressed. What we should do is try to help. So we really thank you. And Maxine in the chat, she says that she has learned some stress management technique. And I'm sure she's speaking for all of us. I have learned myself. So I want to say a thank you so much. Thanks to Veronica as well. God bless you, God bless you, God bless you. And we're gonna ask you to come again sometime, some other time. All right,
Okay.
so.
All right, thank you for having me. Bye, everyone.
Right, so can we open our mics and just say thank you to Dr. and Veronica?
Thank you a whole lot. Good evening.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
And also thank you, Veronica, for that. The stress, they were very, very inspiring.
And I want to join. I'm Master Word from Balcom Drive. I want to join in and saying thank you. It was very inspirational from last week until now. I've learned so much, very inspired and educational. Thank you. Thank you, Washington. Good night.
Amen. Good night.
Good night.
So do we have any announcement?
Dr. Nicely, hi.
Maxine.